Hey, what's up YouTube, and welcome back to the Barlo Zone, home of the one and only Demon Hunter King Kaido himself sent to Azeroth. How's everybody doing today? I want to apologize. I got no sleep last night. I don't really know why. Just, sometimes I have those nights. I have trouble getting shut-eye. I'm gonna try and make sure I keep my thoughts coherent. I'm enunciating everything properly. And second apology, I got two of them. I've been having some troubles with my internet. Really hoping that they work themselves out by this afternoon so I can get this edited and uploaded, because man, I posted about this on my Tumblr a few days ago, and it was one of those things, I kind of mentioned in my Tumblr post, I've got a few ideas cooking right now, right? And, I kind of took a step back and I realized, okay, you know what? I got an extra week. Oda's taking some time trying to get his health back in order, trying to get up to par, making sure he's bringing us the best content he can, right? So I figure, why not do the same, right? Since I have a little bit of time, I wanted to take some extra ticks. So I already planned on doing a 4-day release schedule over the break, right? Just as I said, I had the extra time. I wanted to put a little bit of extra effort and make sure I was bringing you guys something worth investing your time in, right? And in my post on Tumblr, I did mention I've got this theory in the workshop right now pertaining to Sabo, the Reverie, and this God Valley flashback. But with the internet going down, it's been a little bit of a struggle for me not having a data plan right now to do the research that I need to make sure that I'm flushing out that one. So don't worry, that one is still in the works. I hope I didn't bait anybody. If anybody was following the Tumblr, got excited about the mention of a Sabo theory upcoming, thought this one might be it, I apologize, friend. That one is in the works. That one, no excuses. I'm gonna have to have internet to edit and upload this video. So once I do have that, I'm gonna get back on the research train for that Sabo video. That one is still in the works and planned for this break that we have this week. But I really wanted to talk about this other idea, because this video should be fun. I'm going to present a soft theory. In that, what I mean by soft theory pertaining to this one is, I'm sure somebody else has already presented it, so I don't want to claim it as an original idea just in case somebody else has. But, since I've started taking being a creator more seriously myself, even posting more regularly my thoughts on Tumblr, for example, trying to get some input and some insight before I go into shooting and recording, and obviously editing and all that stuff afterwards. So I did I did realize that it's possible somebody else has already presented this, so I'm going to present it as a soft theory, and just kind of back in somebody else if they've already presented it. But more importantly, what I find is going to be the real meat and potatoes, the real ringer, the real hook for this video is, I am going to debunk one of my own theories and follow that up by presenting a new theory in its place. Because, as I mentioned, I'm gonna have the soft theory, and this one is kind of long, looking at just about a full page worth of notes here. So I do want to get into this as soon as possible. Try to keep them under half an hour for y'all. But this panel, it's just, I don't want to say bugged me, but it's been something that's been on my mind. And I had somebody respond to me on Tumblr, really helped me work out the whole Kaido Lin issue I was having. And I was able to move past that and really start enjoying everything else I was raving about in my reaction video, right? My apologies. Got to get a little bit of that coffee in me. It is early, and like I said, I didn't get no sleep. But this panel was really interesting to me, right? It's something I haven't been able to stop thinking about, because, yeah, sure, it's just two people in the heat of a battlefield trying to save the life of a baby. One of them somebody they know, somebody they care about, somebody they're connected to. Another one just somebody trying to make amends because they have finally seen that veil's been lifted and they see the evil that they're participating in. But I don't know. And again, it's just one of those things, goes into how I read the chapter and the panel, right? So obviously, let me know what you guys think of this as well. I would love to hear back from y'all. But there were a few things that I've kind of taken notice to because of this panel. 2 panels, really. It's like a quarter page, a fifth of a page. 2 panels right next to each other. But I kind of noticed that this name Eris, right? A lot of people have addressed it recently. And I'm sure most of y'all are aware that in the Greek mythos, there are 2 beings that are referred to as Eris. And to the best of my research and understanding, they are both connected to this idea of the goddess of strife and discord. And, this is kind of one of the cool things about having to remember my notes, because all of these notes, like this in the first draft, I had everything written up on my phone, saved on the cloud. I was going to, bring the bulletins over here, right? But having to rewrite up these notes from memory, from what I was remembering of what I have saved on the cloud, right? I realized something else. Not only Eris, and as I'm going to go on to argue, Dragon, but we also have Shaki representing this idea of Eris during the God Valley flashback, right? Because, just in case, somebody's not fully aware, or somebody hasn't heard somebody else talk about it, right? In the Greek mythos, in the Greek traditions, there are, as I said, 2 people who are referred to as Eris that are associated with being the goddess of strife and discord. What's his name? Hesiod, I believe. Documented them. One would be described as a malevolent being, somebody who causes strife, sows the seeds of discord for the funsies of it, just to get a good laugh at somebody else's expense, right? But then this other being that's also referred to as Eris and associated with this idea of strife and discord, as Hesiod kind of laid it out, would be somebody that man would identify as a benefit to mankind once they get to know him, in the sense of the strife and discord that other Eris, as I refer to her in all my posts so far and how I'll refer to in this video, other Eris fosters rivalries that help people grow and become more than what they are. That's still strife and discord. It's just more malevolent, or benevolent than malevolent, right? So just real quick, because I really wanted to argue the idea that because we're getting all this focus on Teach's mom, right? And we're getting absolutely no real focus on Shamrock Shank's mom, other than the dragon, please save my babies, and then confirmation of death. It really kind of perturbed me for a bit, right? Because Shanks is just as important, if not more important, to the story of Monkey D. Luffy than Teach is. Don't get me wrong. Marshall D. Teach is a huge part of the story of Monkey D. Luffy. That's not something that we should readily forget about. MDT for both of them. I don't know why that just occurred to me. Marshall D. Teach, sorry. Got that foggy, sleepy brain. We're gonna go ahead and get back to the notes, right? Because I wanted to speculate that because we're getting the focus on Eris and no focus on Shamrock Shank's mom, that the Eris bit was supposed to be clues to Emu. And so when I started researching this idea, I started with looking into the gods of chaos, right? And found myself specifically researching into the Japanese god of chaos, because I was figuring, okay, you know what? Figuring out who this the entity from Japanese tradition is might help understand the reference that's trying to be made between Emu and Eris. And so I did some research into the Japanese god of chaos, and come to find out there was one. Only issue, the Japanese god of chaos is a primordial being, so he would have been somebody more closely associated to the story of Izanagi and Izanami than the story of Amaterasu, Tsukuyomi, and Susanoo, right? Uh, but that's when it occurred to me, right? I'm sitting there, I'm reading all this stuff, and I'm like, dang, you know what? This is kind of really feeding into the emu. I'll go and go over this real quick because emu does have a lot of parallels. This Japanese god of chaos is known as Amatsu Mikaboshi. I no doubt butchered that. I please accept my apology if you are Japanese or a Japanese speaker and follow my channel. I don't intend to butcher the language. I am trying my best. So please, if you can type out the phonetics for how to enunciate something properly, I would be so grateful for that. But moving on, Amatsu Mikaboshi, right? The parallels between Emu and Mikaboshi begin with Mikaboshi being this primordial being, right? So somebody who, because with Japanese traditions, the birth of Amaterasu, Tsukuyomi, and Susanoo is a big major part of the current era in Japanese history, right? To the point where one could argue the era before Amaterasu, Tsukuyomi, and Susanoo could be seen as a void century, because to the best of my research and knowledge, even a lot of people in Japan aren't 100% certain on some aspects that come from the, what was it? I guess it'd be the Meireki area, pre-Meireki. I believe that's when the feudal clans and all that started to fight to take over the archipelago. Again, you know what? I'm gonna back down there. I don't want to butcher the history of a culture, especially if that specific part of the history isn't pertaining to the discussion. So I again apologize. I will make sure I'm not speculating on stuff that doesn't pertain to my culture or the discussion at hand. But beyond the void century bit, Mikaboshi is kind of seen as the embodiment of evil, the opposite of light. And the thing that really got me when I was researching this Amatsu Mikaboshi character is that one of the pseudonyms, I guess, one of the alternate names that he was known to go by is August Star of Heavens. And he is really closely associated with stars in general. So I feel like, with that information, because that is the brunt of what was readily available to me, it's pretty easy to see why my brain immediately made the connections with Emu, right? But then I was sitting there thinking about it and reading about it, right? And I started thinking about the name Eris again. And I'm all, wait, okay, you know what? Eris isn't the Greek god of chaos. She was the Greek goddess of strife and discord. So I redoubled my searches. I started from scratch. I went back in, not from scratch. I kept some notes, obviously, but I went back in fresh, right? Okay, let's look into some of the gods of strife and discord, and again, specifically, the Japanese god of strife and discord. Because again, as much as Oda likes to represent the cultures of the world, right? Like, he tries to get a little bit of everybody on this plate. It is a cornucopia of worldly culture and worldly history pertaining to our real life world, right? Like, he tries to make sure everybody feels some kind of connection. They have something they can connect to in this story. At the end of the day, he is still a Japanese mangaka, and what he knows best is going to be his own culture's traditions, right? So because of that, while I was researching this god of strife and discord, I did make sure I stopped in. I'm all, okay, who is the Japanese god of strife and discord? And I'd like to take a second, just in case somebody might know the answer to this, right? Who do you guys think the Japanese god of strife and discord is? I'll give it a second. Let some people tag the time if they want in the comments, whatever you're gonna do, because this one blew me back. According to my research, the Japanese god of strife and discord is Susanoo. Now wait, because Susanoo is also credited as the god of storms. Now, okay, Barlow, that makes sense. Stormy weather on the seas, that's about as strife and discordy as it gets, right? Like, you're not gonna be able to predict anything. You gotta be able to react at the drop of a hat. It's all bets are off. That makes sense, right? Like, obviously, yeah, the god of storms is probably also the god of strife and discord. I should have made that connection earlier. But that means that the Japanese god of strife and discord is connected to Amaterasu, including a forced separation between Amaterasu and Susanoo. And because this is pertaining to the discussion, I will relay the information I am aware of, what my research has informed me of. But part of the Japanese creation tradition, right? Basically the birth of Amaterasu, Tsukuyomi, and Susanoo, is that when Susanoo was born, he wouldn't stop crying, like just nonstop. He wanted his mom, even though he had never met her. Because all three of the gods were born directly from Izanagi's grief. God, I hope I remembered that one right. I am pretty sure Izanagi was the father. I'm doing so much apologizing here. Like, this is all stuff pertaining to the idea, and it'll make sense in a minute, I promise. And I'm really... Please, if you guys do have the information to correct me and make sure that what I'm saying is correct for the people who are listening, please do drop that in the comments. I would rather look like a jackass on camera than to sit here and spout nonsense like it's facts. Like that's just what it is. I would rather get what are they calling it? Ratioed? I would rather have more likes on a comment correcting me than likes on the video with me spreading misinformation, if that makes sense. So please do. If you guys have information that contradicts or can prove something I'm saying wrong, please do share that. But, because we're talking about Susanoo, right? This god in Japanese tradition is connected to, what do I got it? Ushering in the land of the rising sun. Now, that's a phrase that doesn't get brought up nearly enough, in my opinion, when it comes to One Piece, right? Because that's the epithet of the Japanese archipelago as a nation, right? They are the land of the rising sun. What's a rising sun? It's a dawn. Now, that's a phrase that doesn't get brought up nearly enough in my opinion when it comes to One Piece, right? Because that is the epithet of the Japanese archipelago as a nation, right? They are the nation, the land of the rising sun. And what is a rising sun? It's just the dawn of a new day. So I think that's just another thing connecting Susanoo to the end of this story, right? And I'm gonna have to do an amendment to my my magnum opus there. I think I've learned some things, and I can give you guys a little bit better on that one. So in the future, look out for that one. I'll try to keep people posted, comments or posts here on YouTube, posts on my Tumblr, I'll probably even post it on Twitter that I'm getting ready to redo the magnum opus in case anybody's interested in hearing the update on that. But I remember mentioning dragon at the beginning of this video, and I want to bring it back around because that's the theory that I saw myself disproving, and it's one that I just put up, just put out. It may have been something I felt really strongly about for a while, right? But like that's, I think, 2 videos old now. The discussion about whether or not dragon has a devil fruit. I think, and this is probably just me tinfoil hatting it again, right? Reading way too much into the tiny details that may end up just be red herrings for us at the end of the day, right? But I do think that the framing of this panel was intentional, right? Because we're looking at Eris, and kind of the general topic of this discussion, right, is Eris. And the way that this panel's framed, it puts them kind of in this position of representing 2 sides of the same coin, yeah? Again, let me know if I'm overthinking it. Just, feel free to tell me, hey, Barlow, you're overcooking. You flame me all you want. But as I said, this is something I posted about on my Tumblr a few days ago, and it's something I've been brewing on and stewing on, and it's not an idea I've been able to shake. That dragon is the goddess Eris, the from the Greek traditions, the malevolent one. Now, no, I am not saying dragon is a bad guy. Coffee's probably not the best idea. I apologize if my voice has been kind of rough. But to be clear, I am not saying dragon is a bad guy. I am not saying the Revolutionary Army are bad guys. Give me a second, because this might actually make a little bit of sense real quick. The Revolutionary Army and dragon, right? Sabo, Eva, Kuma back in the day, Morley, I just mentioned her in my video the other day. Anyway, all of them, right? They're all out here fighting the good fight. It's a grand and noble ambition among the best of them to be pursued, right? These people are out here trying to help fight for freedom and sovereignty for nations that want it. They're not out here forcing people to separate from the world government. They're just out here like, okay, no, we've heard that your citizens no longer want to be associated with this. They've asked for our help. Your choice is get on board with them or we're gonna coup. Now, because dragon is the figurehead of the Revolutionary Army, that means his head bears the weight, intentional or not. His head bears the weight of the strife and discord being sown around Planet Blue, with all these revolutions, all these islands standing up to the world government now. I never said that dragon represented the goddess Eris in Luffy's eyes. In our eyes, he 100% represents the goddess Eris of Greek mythos in the world government's eyes. And honestly, even beyond the world government, because yes, there are 2 sides to this war, right? You got the world government who wants to maintain the status quo, and you got the Revolutionary Army who wants to shuffle that up a bit, let people do what they want to do. Not every war comes down to 2 sides. A lot of times, citizens are in the middle. They're all, you know what? I don't really care either way. All I care about is I went to work today, my office got blown up, and I'm missing a leg. Whether or not they agree with dragon or the world government is irrelevant. All that matters to them is their life has been blown up because of this fight that they couldn't care less about. So all that just to say, even beyond the world government seeing dragon as spreading strife and discord, right? There are even citizens unassociated, uncommitted to the world government even, who see the Revolutionary Army as nothing but troublemakers. So that's kind of my new theory, right? I haven't actually presented my new theory yet, have I? Okay, here is the new theory. Because I did say I am debunking one of my own, I am hopping off the bandwagon. I am now full on with Dragon having a devil fruit, not getting a devil fruit. In this flashback, he might get it in this flashback, but in current times, Dragon has a devil fruit. And I am even hopping full on. I'm jumping from one bandwagon all the way to the other. I am hopping on board with this storm god devil fruit that has been theorized for a long time in the community, right? There are already so many little clues pointing towards it. But if I'm right here, if all these references to Eris and the focus on Eris Teach's mom and Monkey D. Dragon are intentional, then I think this is the first step towards our confirmation and potentially even an immediate reveal. We could cut back to Elbaf proper once God Valley's over, right? And as I've speculated, by the time we come back to Elbaf proper, it would have been 3 minutes. That's how long this flashback was supposed to have taken. That's how long Hajrun gave Loki to tell him about what happened to their dad. Speaking of, I did realize, Gaban is down there. He could be chiming in along with Loki's stories, filling in some of these details that we've been speculating it doesn't make sense for Loki to have. But 3 minutes is a long time. We might even come back from Elbaf proper, take a few seconds to get up to the Sun Realm, right? The Gods, Knights, and Emu might be gone, and the Straw Hat crew might be packed in. I don't know. A lot of people are speculating there's some kind of time dilation, right? So we could get, when we get back to Elbaf, we could get a cut to Marijua with Dragon and Eva out here raising hell, right? But we get that notable lack of Sabo. I don't know. That part's not really part of the theory. The theory is Dragon has the Susanoo model of the Hito Hito no Mi. Which, I guess I am kind of speculating. All of the God Devil fruits are probably going to turn out to be Hito Hito no Mi model, something referencing the Japanese god that they're related to, right? So it might not be model Susanoo, right? I think the model Seiryu was a little on the nose, but that was also during a very Japanese-centric arc, right? With Wano being heavily representative of the culture of Japan. But, I don't know, Hito Hito no Mi model crash? I don't know, the sound of thunder makes, which means that, Blackbeards could end up being the Hito Hito no Mi model vampire. I don't know. Something related to Tsukuyomi, more or less. But because I have speculated, I do want to wrap this up with a little sub-theory, just something that was been in the broiler while this has been baking the last few days, right? Because I have speculated that Dragon is scheduled to bite the big one, right? Which means that if he is supposed to be the representative of Susanoo going into the dawn of the new era, I think that one is just a little bit off as well, because Susanoo is supposed to be the youngest of the triplets. We did just get introduced to a character that has this bonkers power to come up with a version of herself from alternate timelines. And all she really needs to do is see the power. So while, Blackbeard and Luffy seem kind of set in stone, right? We got our Amaterasu, and we got our Tsukuyomi, we got our sun and our moon. I think Bonnie might end up playing the role of Susanoo for Dragon by the end of the story. Anyway, this one's been kind of wild, kind of all over the place. To wrap things up, my soft theory was that Emu is the analog for Amatsumi Kaboshi, the representative and embodiment of pure evil in the Japanese traditions. I feel like I have thoroughly and officially debunked my theory that dragon will not have a devil fruit, and announced that I'm hopping on board with the Susanoo devil fruit that has been widely speculated. But as I have theorized that dragon is, as I said, scheduled to bite the big one, I want to leave it with amending my my other theory with dragon, right? And saying that he will pass on the mantle, the will of Susanoo, if you will, to Bonnie when we get into the final war. As always, though, fam, let me know what y'all think. I do apologize again. I was probably all over the place. I'm going to do my best in editing to make this as watchable as possible, as listen toable as possible. I thank you guys for sticking through this one with me. I should probably look into going and getting some sleep. So much love, fam. I hope y'all have a blessed day.